Hey all, what's up everybody? Tim from the LB with today's Self-Confidence Espresso. Hope you all are doing awesome. And the title for today's clip is Don't Try to Board Your House Up in the Middle of a Hurricane. So for the last 6 days, I was at a conference in Boston, and it was a great conference, but it was just packed. They were 14, 16-hour days, and I flew back into Pennsylvania 2 days ago, and yesterday I was back in the office and had a full day there. And last night I had some errands to run on the way home, and I got home, and do you ever get home and things are just not where they're supposed to be with your kids? And my 11-year-old son Drew was just bouncing off the walls, and he kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and arguing and getting more and more animated, and finally I just absolutely popped, and I started to yell at him, and I lost my temper with him. And you know, when you start to go down that rabbit hole, you start by saying go to your room, and then you say you're grounded for tomorrow, and then you kind of run into you're grounded for a week, and you're grounded for life, and you're not going to do hockey anymore, and I'm going to take everything out of your room. And that hardly ever happens to me, but last night I just did not do a good job of maintaining my cool with them. And when you go to bed with all that strife and anger, frustration, usually your night is not that great. And last night I had some of the worst dreams I ever had in my life, and that carried over into this morning. And I got up and I was looking at some of the work I was doing and some of the things I was working on, and I thought, what's the use? What is going on here? I am wasting my time trying to do all the things that I'm trying to do. And I remember sitting, just a couple of moments ago, I was sitting in the living room on the couch, and all of a sudden I heard the voice of Lou Holtz, believe it or not, way back in the corner of my mind. And Coach Holtz said, people experience a little bit of adversity, and they think that it's not meant to be. And then a couple seconds later, I heard the voice of Eric Thomas saying, you got to grind when nobody's watching. You got to grind in the good times and in the bad times. And then I started to hear the voice of Amy Purdy, and pretty soon Tony Robbins and Les Brown, and all these people that I listened to. And these voices of encouragement started to at least pick me up out of my really, really depressed state. And last post we talked about Moses, and I'm not trying to convert everybody or anybody, but I thought about Joshua. And Joshua is another great story coming out of the Bible. Joshua picked up leadership for the Jewish people after Moses died. And when Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, they took them to the Promised Land, but there were a lot of challenges they had to face. And the Israelites were so focused on the challenges that they couldn't go into the Promised Land, so they had to wander in the desert for 40 years. And Joshua took over leadership for Moses, and then got the charge to take the Israelites into the Promised Land. And God gave him some instructions as to what to do as they were getting ready to face these challenges. And he didn't tell them to pray, he didn't tell them to meditate, he didn't tell them to fast. What he told them to do was to focus on the promises that God had made, and that those would sustain them. And they in fact did. And Joshua took the Jews into the Promised Land, and we kind of know the story from there. And whether you're a Jew or a Christian and you believe that or not, the principle is the one that's so important, that we need to take time to sow words of encouragement and words of positivity and words of affirmation into our lives when things aren't really bad, right? Because those voices are the ones that speak to us when times get really tough. Like this morning, that saying from Lou Holtz, I've heard that probably 1,000 times. I've watched his videos hundreds of times. And it was really, really cool to hear that shoot out of the darkness into my mind and say, you know what, people experience adversity and they think it's not meant to be, and that encouraged me. And then once, I sort of got a hold of that, a couple others started to come on board, until pretty soon, it lifted me out of that state. Now, I didn't feel like doing anything this morning, going for a walk, doing meditation, any of that. And I'm not saying I'm back to my normal positive self, but when a hurricane's coming on shore, it's too late to board your house up. And when you find yourself in the middle of adversity or confronted with a great opportunity, it's too late to prepare. You have to prepare yourself before that happens. You have to take time to develop yourself and sow the positivity, and get your thinking straight when times are good, so that when the bad times hit, and they will, and when you don't feel like going on, and there'll be times like that comes back to you, and that they speak to you and they encourage you when you're by yourself, because that's when you need them the most. It would be stupid to wait for a hurricane to come on shore and try to put the plywood up as a Cat 5 hurricane is blowing on shore. but a lot of us try to do that. I know I tried to do that for a long time. The secret is to take the time during your days when things are going okay to hammer that stuff into your mind, to get in front of things that inspire you and encourage you and motivate you and develop you, so that when those tough times hit, as they will, that you're prepared and you can handle them a lot better. Because otherwise, you're going to find yourself subject to that mood, and then things typically tend to take a downward spiral from there. So, my encouragement to you and reminding myself is take time every day to build into yourself the psyche, the emotions, and the messages that are going to affirm you and inspire you and encourage you, because they will come back when times are tough. If you put them into your mind and you repeat them and you take the time to sow them into your life, they will come back. They'll come back when they're needed. And when your darkest times hit and when you need them the most, don't be surprised if they show up, because that's what they're meant to do. Like God told Joshua, focus on my promises. Whether it's God's promises or whatever you believe, if you take time to get that in front of your eyes and in your mouth and in your head, they will come back, and they will be some of your best friends in some of your darkest moments. So board your house up before the hurricane hits, so that when it hits, you're ready. And don't try to do it once the hurricane is coming inshore, because then it's too late, and then all you can do is hope and pray that you experience as little devastation as possible. But if you're prepared, you can move through that situation and learn from it and use it as a learning experience and build upon it and become better as a result of it and better prepared the next time. So this is Tim from the LV, reminding you your life is a tour de force. Keep living it that way. Keep killing it. Don't let the discouraging times get you down. Continue to sow those great messages into your life so that you're ready and you will thrive. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.